Hey everyone, Ben here and welcome to my first ever online race experiencing the new iRacing Tempest weather system. We're in the GT3s at new track Portimao for a 15-minute sprint race. I've qualified in P2, so I've got decent speed, but that might count for very little if I can't keep my BMW on track and out of the barriers. So let's get into it. And we are immediately underway then. We've got Mauro Martinez up in pole position. He's got the jump on me a little bit off the start, and I think I've got Jerry Rude down my inside as well in the Porsche. I can't see a thing heading into T1. I've got to give space on the inside, and yes, I've lost P2 straight away to Rude, but at least we've gotten through the corner in one piece. Essentially, your fate is in other drivers' hands. Yes, you've got to keep it on track, but I had no idea if Rude was going to keep his car under control. He did a very good job down my inside. Got a message from the spotter there. Other drivers not so lucky behind. We'll take a look at that in a moment, but look, for now I am just trying to find some kind of visibility on track. Thankfully Rude took the inside line there. I was able to find at least a bit of vision on the outside. Rude making a move for the lead. He's going to go from P3 to P1, and I again am stuck behind these two, unable to see anything. This is terrifying as we come into the middle sector of this lap at Portimao, not helped by just how undulating this track is. Lots of blind crests like the one I'm going over at the moment. Visibility is a big problem, but so is standing water. There were pools at the bottom of that hill there, and you can just feel the steering go a little bit light as you lose grip. We're climbing the hill once again then, and just really gently coaxing the car here, trying to find bits of grip on the track. Again, more standing water at the bottom of the hill, and we're coming up through the left-hander here and just trying to get a feel for the car and the track. We did well in qualifying, but this is a whole different ball game with other cars in close proximity. It takes maximum concentration. You're hyper alert, trying to look for unconventional cues as to where you are on track. Can you get on the gas? Do you have space at the apex? And we're coming through the final corner here, and talking of space at the apex, there's a big puddle right on the inside of that corner. We then get caught in it. That's going to slow me down as we get onto the start-finish straight to end lap 1, and I'm going to come under pressure from Sam Ainsworth in the Porsche behind. He's got to run on me here. He's shaping to the inside. He's not that close by, but he's going to get later on the brakes. He's going to keep his car under control on the inside, and we've lost another position. I'm down into P4. As I think about how I'm going to recover, let's take a look back at that early race incident. Gaetano Matsuka just getting in too hot into T2. He comes together with the car ahead. Some very smart avoiding driving here from Sam Ainsworth. He's just trying to keep it nice and clean. He sees the incident play out ahead of him, threads his car through the two up ahead, and then towards the end of the lap, the beginning of lap 2, he's able to shape down my inside and make a clean pass into T1. Treacherous conditions here, taking a gamble that he'll be able to keep the car under control. I give him lots of space because I want to survive this race. I'm happy for the time being to drop down to P4 in exchange for keeping the car on track, but we rejoin the live action on lap 2, and I am keeping in close proximity with the cars up ahead, still struggling for visibility, still struggling for grip, and having to remember where to place my car to just try and keep control into some of these corners. You don't really want to be on the racing line. It's been well documented that the rubbered in line is slipperier than offline in the wet in iRacing. That takes a little bit of getting your head around to not keep going back onto that traditional racing line. So I'm just learning here as I go on my first online race, and I think that's the same for everybody on this grid here, and I've got to bear that in mind as I'm following cars up ahead, because other drivers could make mistakes at any moment. Who gets out on top on this race is, at least in part, going to depend on who can be consistent who can keep the car pointing in the right direction. But look up ahead, and Martinez is going to get it wrong on the outside. He gets it really wrong. He slides right the way across the track, and that is me back up into the podium spots. But that's exactly what I was talking about. As we see it on replay, he just gets in too hot into the corner, lights up the tyres on the curbing. No grip out there on that part of the circuit, and he paid a big price. As we rejoin the live action then on lap 3, I'm still in P3, trying to chase down and repass Sam Ainsworth up ahead. The gap is around a second. Jerry Rood is streaking away in P1 at this stage of the race, but I'm beginning to get a little bit more confident behind the wheel here. Sam Ainsworth is going to make a big mistake up ahead. Well, in truth, it was a small mistake, but with big consequences once again. We'll see it on replay. He just carries in a little bit too much speed. The rear end can't deal with it. It begins to loop, and actually he does a pretty good job of holding this, keeping it straight in the gravel trap, not getting a complete spin on there, which could have essentially ruined his race. He does rejoin in P3 behind me. As we get back to the live action on lap 5, there's a decent gap there to Sam behind me of 7 seconds. But up ahead, my focus is on reeling in Jerry Rood. I've got that gap down to 2.5 seconds, so I'm lapping pretty well here at the moment, but actually we've got a back marker to deal with. This is Getsfred on the right hand side of the track here. This is my first time lapping a driver on circuit. Is he going to be nice and predictable up ahead? Yes, he is. He sticks to the left hand side, he gets out of the throttle, and I'm able to get down the inside and execute a clean pass. That is a relief. It's always a bit tense in online lobbies passing back markers. It was particularly tense there, but I was able to get past okay. But unfortunately, I'm going to make my first big mistake of this race. I do though get lucky in that there's concrete runoff there on the left hand side, but it cost me a lot of time because I'm conscious as soon as you get out there, the grip levels are even lower, so there's no rushing back onto track. If I'd tried to get straight back onto the racing line there, I would have spun the car, so I had to give up some time in exchange for getting back on track safely. But that has cost me to Sam Ainsworth behind. It's also the reality that Ainsworth is lapping incredibly well here. He's the fastest driver on track right now. That gap has come down to 1.5 seconds. But there's more incidents up ahead. That's Masajovsky off to the right hand side there. Unfortunately for him, parked on the bit of the racing line there. Thankfully I got enough notice that he was out there on track as we see a replay of the incident itself, that I was able to adjust and come to the inside early as the leader was able to up ahead of me. Look though, Sam Ainsworth is on that outside line there. He is able to adjust late on, and thankfully there was no big collision. But we're on to the final lap now. Can I hold on to P2? Rood has disappeared off into the distance. This now is a battle between myself and Ainsworth to see who can come home in P2, and really it's a test of nerve. Ainsworth is going to have to take a gamble in spray with difficult visibility to try and get past me here. Oh, but there's a yellow flag out. Before I complete that thought, there's another driver going slow on the outside. The wet track wants to pull you out there. The car understeers, so I had to be very careful not to drift out onto his line there. Thankfully, he keeps it nice and predictable on the inside. I'm able to get past. It looks like Ainsworth was able to get past as well. So only a few corners left now of this race. Is Ainsworth going to push it and try and get an extra spot in this race? Am I going to be able to hold my nerve and not make a mistake through these final couple of corners? An error could come at any moment here. Get slightly too far onto the curb, get into one of those puddles, you will lose the car. But we've come so far through this race now, we're just about to get through the final corner. As long as I'm nice and patient, P2 is going to be mine. And I've got to say, for my first experience just learning the ropes in wet weather here on iRacing, P2 feels like a very, very good result to me, and only a single incident point. I did not predict that heading into this race, particularly not in week 13. But here's confirmation of the classified results then. What a fantastic experience. But I've got to tell you, it is harder than you think it's going to be. Certainly than I thought it was going to be. This is going to be a big adjustment for lots of sim racers, I think. Yes, this was towards the more extreme end of the wet weather conditions. I'm sure week to week there will be more variation in the weather, but this is tough. It's an enjoyable experience, but it's a challenge. I hope you've enjoyed sharing that with me. If you have, leave a like, get subscribed, and I will see you on the next one.